Good morning, welcome back to the HPP. It is still me, ABC, Adam Benjamin Coleman, here at the Human Performance Project. Today you get to hear someone talk besides just me. I have a special guest and a good friend of mine, Phil Jensen, who we've known each other, I guess, less than 6 months, since like, I don't know, November, mid-November-ish.
Yeah.
But I think, as I've expressed in some of my other videos, that we come across people or things that are purposeful and signposts, if you will, kind of guiding us towards our next point of our mission or our next little endeavor in life. And I think Phil's one of those people. So I wanted to have him come on today and talk a little bit about some of the goals and ideas that he has in his mind, because we have a lot of similar thought processes as far as how we want to see things change and how we want to see ourselves change as men going forward. And so I wanted to take some time not only to thank you for being here, first of all, Phil, and for being willing to participate in this, but just have us tell a little bit about yourself, like where you were born, how it was growing up as a child, high school, and early adult life, to what brings you to this point today, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It's been like a long time coming. I wanted to do something like this, and yeah, like you said, meeting you at the time I met you, I'm excited for this. I think that it's important.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on, you said a signpost, and I call them lighthouses. The people that I meet, they just stand out to me. Like, this person is important not just to me, but to a lot of lost people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're definitely one of those people, and I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right.
So, what makes you feel? Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, what you want to be doing, and kind of your projects or plans that you want to implement going forward.
Yes. So I was born here in Bakersfield, California. Pretty much never left until my 30s. I went out, but I've only ever been to Colorado, out of state working. But I grew up here. It was, we did a lot of, our parties and stuff in high school. Stuff like that was in the fields. We would burn pallets. And
so what crowd were you in high school? Like,
I was an emo kid. I still am an emo kid. I really wasn't. I didn't fit in with most crowds, but at the same time, I could fit into all of them.
Yeah.
Which kind of bothered me. I didn't really know a lot about myself.
Yeah, I get a solid sense of who you were.
Right.
Yeah, I did the same thing in high school for sure.
Yeah, and it really made me feel bad about myself not knowing those things. But
when did you figure out that you didn't know? Like, what was the alarm where you were like, oh shit, I don't really.
I think in the oil fields, once I realized I could integrate just as easily into this group of degenerate men, like
super testosterone filled environment,
And I was so different than that. Growing up, I was an emo kid when I got in there, and so
you were the opposite of a roughneck, basically.
Yeah, and it once I completely was able to just integrate into that, I was like, man, who the fuck are you? And it bothered me for a long time, but I feel like a mirror mostly, like because it's not like I just integrate and say what people want to hear. I've always been a version of myself in every different aspect, and I feel like I don't. It's hard. It's hard to understand. Like, I still don't know if I know exactly who I am. I remember a kid in high school, freshman year, and he knew who he was.
And what gave you that impression? Like, what made the difference between him knowing and someone else that was the same age, same level of everything that didn't know? Like,
the way that doing all wearing whatever I picked out, which was usually some crazy stuff, like girl pants or shirts that I would make myself.
Not the norm for the.
Right. It was like all of it was cool to a lot of people. Like,
Mhm.
and I never really understood that part of me. I didn't ever think I was cool, but I'm realizing now, like, that kid had it kind of figured out. That kid made the shirt he wanted to wear and work.
And if someone said something about it, it
Right.
didn't
Yeah,
matter.
and we come from I'm a '90s kid. We come from picking on people and using words and stuff, but like there was nothing anybody could say to me. I knew exactly who I was, and it was fun. It was fun back then. I felt free.
Yeah.
Something about growing up made me become or try try to be a man or pretend to be a man, which brought me a lot of chaos. I realized later on in life that I was pretending to be a man so much, like I hadn't realized that I was, I would yell in a deeper voice to sound like a man,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I had a deep voice and I didn't have to do that.
Right.
So it was like, once I realized I was pretending to be, on top of actually growing up and becoming a man, like I realized what kind of like monster I must have seemed like. Like, you don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
It was extra.
Just trying too hard.
Right. And it my children suffered from it. I got it from my dad. I realized how I had suffered from it and what I was just pretending to be what he was pretending to be.
You were modeling what you were modeled, basically.
Yeah.
So we try to pretend to be something that we don't even know what it is we're trying to pretend to be, and it just goes all kinds of sideways. I can definitely identify with that.
I think we come up with this version of a man. I know I did before I was even close to being one. Before I knew what a man was, and so the image I was portraying was so wrong. It wasn't anything what a man is.
Yeah, or definitely not the man you want to be that you know you were meant to be.
Not at all.
So talking about mental health is definitely a good thing, because I know that you have some aspirations as far as kind of improving the receptivity or the awareness of specifically men's mental health, because there's a lot of stuff that gets lost in the labels that society puts on men, whether it's toxic masculinity or not being masculine enough. Like, there's a lot of struggles that get lost in the crosshairs, and I think a lot of people don't know what they're trying to pretend to be. I think a lot of people struggle with what you were talking about in terms of finding that concrete form of identity. Well, I know they do. I mean, we see things like gender changes and all that are just on the rise.
We're all just trying to find out who we are.
Right, where we fit in. So tell me a little bit about kind of what you want to see happen for other people that might have the same struggles, or what kind of resources you have found or want to make available to people that are where you were,
Yeah. So what made me realize that I was doing it, I was playing a role, was my father's passing. He was a great man, and I learned most of what I know about being a good man.
Just having some integrity, being an outstanding person.
The power of will, like what we're capable of, and what we should and should not, like, bitch about.
What's important.
Right. And sadly it was his passing that showed me.
Which was when? How old were you when he passed away?
It was 3 years ago.
Oh,
2021, October in 2021. He ended up drinking a hole in his stomach for what I can only assume is shame. He messed up when I was probably 16. He cheated on my mom and kind of messed up in that sense, and really just went away.
Yeah.
Felt shame that he couldn't talk about
Punish himself for it.
He went straight just away.
Mm-hmm.
And I relate this. He's the one, when I was a kid, would tell me about old dogs, family dogs. When they get sick and they're gonna die, and they know they're gonna die, they leave the house. They say it's because they don't want to leave their body to their family. They don't want people to have to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it just broke my heart because I know that's what he did. And it's what showed me. One of his last journal entries is what kind of lifted it through all of my all the stuff I was carrying around, all the tough guy shit, all the things I thought I needed to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
It brought it off my shoulders, dropped it to the ground, like a wet coat.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he had just written to himself about how he felt like he had gone through abuse. Not physical, but like an emotional, the way our parents kind of fuck us up.
Mm-hmm. Knowingly or unknowingly.
Yeah, they don't realize it. His mom loved him, and he knew that. His dad loved him, but in toxic ways, in ways that hurt.
They're imperfect.
Right. And just reading him say it, it was so strange to me because we don't complain. He was a real stoic guy.
Mm.
And I admired that always about him. But hearing him or reading him say it to himself that he was abused that way, it made me realize it was almost like he was saying it's okay, to talk about it. It's okay to feel that way.
Mm.
It's okay to
acknowledge it.
Acknowledge those things.
Yeah.
And it opened my heart up. I couldn't. I could feel where he was coming. I could see exactly how he didn't. It was like he apologized to us.
Yeah. He had context for the mistake he made, basically.
He knew he had done to us what his dad had done to him or whatever, and it was so eye-opening. And that's what showed me I'm doing that to my kids. I'm that way, and it was one of the biggest lessons my dad ever taught me.
It's a sobering moment, for sure.
Yeah, and up to that point, I had been running from my own misfortunes in life and things I couldn't change, and things I could have done more about, but I ran, and I was drinking like he was, and I realized in that moment that drinking yourself to death is suicide. He had committed suicide over a long period of time.
Yeah, passively.
Right, and I realized immediately that's what I'm doing.
Mm.
And it just, man, I felt really done with it. As soon as I could see it, it was like the man in the mirror just let me know with a nod that it was over. We're not doing that. Which left me with more problems.
Yeah.
Which left me with it was right around the time I had gone on disability, so I was unable to do the job that I did, which took up most of my time in life.
And gave you a huge portion of who you felt like you were, where you belonged.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. But it was also one of my biggest blocks. It was how I ran.
Mm.
I didn't have to think about life when I was doing.
That's interesting. So it was kind of like a mindless. Crutch, basically.
Yeah, it's my crutch. Exactly my crutch. And with that gone, and then with the alcohol gone, I was pretty much
left with all of this
to myself
Yeah.
to deal with what was going on, which I found out was a huge mess.
More than we thought, right? Speaking from someone who's gotten sober too, it's stopping drinking is the easy part. Cleaning up the messes we've made afterwards and dealing with the wreckage, that's where it gets a little tougher.
I thought stopping would be really difficult, but it turns out that happens almost instantly.
Once you make the choice.
Yeah.
I mean, did seeing your dad go down that path and I mean, I'm sure that it wasn't glamorous, seeing his decline physically and whatnot. So, did that enter your mind when you're drinking, or while you're drinking, or?
So he he died. He had cirrhosis at the time he died, but I never knew that. Like I said, when he messed up, or he thought he'd messed up everything, he just went away. It would be like when my car would break down, or I had to, like, replace, a major component on the car. He was an old mechanic, so I would call him. We would have those like moments where we hang out and work together, but just to grab a beer or to, say hi, or just
Pretty transactional stuff.
Yeah, we never made those things happen. So I didn't watch his decline. I didn't know he was sick, and he did it all real fast. Within the span of probably 15 years, he'd died. He'd become an alcoholic and then died.
15 years, that's not a long time at all.
No, and it what kills me about it is he died knowing that we didn't love him, that we hate that, or that we, that he was wrong, and he just felt, I don't like how, I don't like to think about it a lot, but I know where he was, and I know where I was, and had I died at that moment, I would have died knowing that I had failed everyone, and that everybody hated me for good reason, and that, that I was replaceable, and it breaks my heart, because he's not alone in that. I wasn't alone in that. I think that men's mental health is something that's almost scoffed at if you bring it up, and it's
in a lot of circles. I think you're right.
And we take pride as men in being like the light, the lamps of our families. We lead
the rock everyone can lean on, depend on.
Yeah, and we love to be that, and when we're able to be that, it's the most fulfilling thing that we can do. And then when you can't, I didn't realize how shaky my foundation
Oh yeah, take the wind out of your sails real quick.
Yeah, you lose the purpose part of it, the ability to take care of people, and immediately you find out how little you know about who you are. How strong are you really, and who is Philip, who is Adam. I found out really fast that I had no idea.
So, where are you with the mental health thing at this point in terms of, do you have any ideas on how you can broaden the scope of people who are exposed to the idea, kind of opposite of what has been imposed by society?
I do, and I don't at the same time, but I know that what's made me comfortable to talk about all of it is that I went and did the whole oil fields thing. I did 17 years in the oil fields, and it's with some of the toughest guys I've ever been around. Some of the scariest guys I've ever been around. And
at least physically, yeah.
Right, and I'm able to not just integrate with them, but have their respect. Those guys will do what I ask them to do, not because I'm yelling at them or anything like that, but because they want to. They want to make us look good, or whatever. And walking around as a kid who didn't know who he was, that I realized I was still just a kid pretending to be a man. And kind of this time off, it showed me I have a lot of pride in the fact that I was able to do that. Fake it till you make it is a real thing, but it's also a testament to what we're able to do.
Absolutely.
To who we can. I feel like we're so important. Men, we're able to take care of people, and not the way that women are able to nurture us, and they have such a huge role, but I think that the man's role is downplayed. We're replaceable. don't think that I would have been so secure with knowing those things about myself had I not gone and proved myself a man, you know, in that sense, and really only to myself. Being out there now, I know I can stand in a room of anybody. It doesn't matter. But I could tell all of them how they're making me feel, or you know, that if something is upsetting me, or that I'm sad about something, you know, and it would be laughed at by us guys, and I'm okay with that. I feel like I can bring a little bit of light to the sense that we don't have to tough guy everything out, you know, and we never really get to do it anyway. We bury it, you know, we eat it, and then it eats us.
Most definitely. Then it's been said a lot of different ways. You're only as sick as your secrets, you know, stuff like that. But it's, you know, the stuff that we keep in a lot of times is what ends up hurting us the most, that we work the hardest to keep out of the light. And it's stuff 9 times out of 10 that if exposed to the light, that people are gonna see it, or like, it's a big deal, man. Like, what are you so worried about? Like, I've had that exact same problem, or someone I know has had that exact same problem, or something.
Right.
So it's really not as
we're just trained to believe that it's weakness. You know, bleeding your emotions or anything out, or letting it out.
And that's unacceptable. Like any weakness shows, it's just
right. And there's so much strength in being vulnerable. There's so much strength in standing up for what matters to you. You know, even if it's, you know, I come from the '90s, so gay or whatever. Like, I think that from just my experience in the oil fields, I can stand and everybody in the room could call me gay for fucking, you know, saying some stuff that
or whatever,
and I would smile at everyone. You know, I would be able to. I feel like I want to bring that to the world, and in no way do it the way that it's being done.
Right.
I want to show the guys who have their boots on at 4:30 every morning, you know, and go out there and they still pretend to be tough, but they are tough. You know, they don't have to pretend any of it, and that it just hurts them, and it just hurts their family. Their family's not as safe as they think their family is, because they're really not that stable. You know, once you fall away, you leave your family just vulnerable to life. You know, you're not there to protect them, because we're never there really in the first place.
It's it's a tough distinction to make between, I guess, like tough and prideful, self-assured and arrogant.
Because there's good. There's good in pride. Is people have a lot to say, you know, negative about pride, but
it's necessary.
It's
you know,
so important.
You have to take pride in yourself. You have to take pride in what you do. You know, pride in your family, pride in the things you own and that are important to you. It's just, you know, it's one of those things, like so many things in life, where moderation seems to be the key principle. If it gets out of control or is used in excess, then it is no longer a beneficial thing. So virtue is only a virtue until it recognizes itself as such, and then it's a vice.
Then it's a vice.
So,
pride in your work is the difference between good work and bad work.
Yeah,
and mediocre work.
Somebody who loves what they do and somebody who's just swinging a hammer, you know.
So I believe in pride. I think pride is so powerful, in setting us aside from other men. You know,
right.
Giving us our own sense of what we're capable of, who we are, and I just want my goal is to, you know, I have all these ideas. I just want to help. I just want to help as many men like my dad and me. I was suicidal a couple years back, and it had to come all the way down to to realize like I don't die from this, and nobody's coming to save me,
Mm.
and I've got to get out. You know, I had to pull myself out of it, and I think that it's really important to, you know, that despair where only you are going to get out of this. You know, nobody's going to come out,
Oh.
and I think that's such a catalyst. It was so important to my journey to realize like I can rely on myself.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's coming, and that's okay because I can do this.
I spent most of my life reassuring people that they could rely on me, but until I knew that I could rely on me,
yeah,
it was false.
You can't jumpstart somebody's battery if yours is dead. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it doesn't work, and being able to keep that balance is sometimes difficult too. But I know that it's easy to have a lot of ideas and things like that. But what do you have any like outlines, or has there been anyone that has put in place any practices that you're kind of resonating with, that you are kind of modeling after or want to model after in the future? Because I mean, now that you're not going to be in the oil fields, you're going to have to find some passion and some new things. So
Yeah.
it sounds like mental health and kind of creating avenues where it can be more readily accessed for people is important to you, you know? So has there been anyone or anything that you've seen so far that's even coming close to modeling what you're wanting to accomplish?
I do. And I see it. I see it always. Now I see people who are doing things the right way. You know, and none of us are doing everything the right way.
Sure.
But I find a lot of people nowadays, now that I'm looking, who stand in their truth, who do themselves like justice, like who speak up for themselves, and even just the simplest ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas they may immediately go from that to falling back into habits and stuff like that. But I see it everywhere now, and I see the strength in people, and I see the weakness and why we don't really have those weaknesses. They're not really our weaknesses. They're almost implied by us. You know, we give them to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Through not feeling worthy or just insecurity or not practicing it. But I see it. I see it everywhere. I see. You're an example of that. You've given me a lot to. I in the oil field. I always go back to this. A lot of my references will be from the oil fields, but I would get out to a job site or with a new crew, and I would watch a guy who does the same thing that I would have done, but he makes it look easier.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can tell like it's easier for him to do that. And then I study that. I want that good trait that he has. That little pushing on. I don't know, just using leverage in your favor, anything like that.
Any little trick that can help.
Little tricks that people learn just by doing things their way.
Mm-hmm.
And
or doing it the wrong way first.
Doing it the wrong way most of the time, but then they find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been real observant of that, and I always like to incorporate those things. I watch people,
Mm-hmm.
especially people who are good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I try to find out how they're good at doing that, and I've always kind of been that way, and I take a lot of pride in just being able to stop and recognize, that somebody's better than me at something, and not letting it get to me at all.
Not being resentful about it, but being, like, okay, well, how can I learn?
How can I, and when some people speak, I shut up and listen, and I think that's part of what's gotten me so far, down this path. It's hard to pinpoint just one specific thing now that I'm trying to, but I see it everywhere now. I see the strength. I see how powerful we are. You know, not just as men, but as
human beings. Yeah.
We're so important to one another, and it's so easy to recognize the weakness. Weak people are cruel, tactless. Those kind of people who are like, I'm just being honest, bro. I'm just telling you, something. I read a quote a year back, and it was honesty without tact is cruelty.
Mm.
And it's I carry that everything I do. It's like, because I've used that excuse. I'm just telling you what I see, man. I'm just being honest. No, you aren't. You were being mean.
You're being dick. Yeah.
You're being hurtful. You're not helping anybody. And so I try really hard to just focus on, when people are negative or they're not coming from a place of love, I let them move on with their life. I don't. But then when people are speaking truths and they're actual lighthouses for other people, beacons
Mm-hmm.
that kind of guide the dark, people out of the darkness. I pay attention to those people. I kind of latch on to those people. I grab your pocket, find out how you're doing this. How are you helping?
Yeah. Find someone who has what you want and kind of just,
absolutely,
like you said, grab their coattails and see how they do it. I mean, that's really how I think anyone that's good or wants to be good at anything goes about it. I mean, I know when I was really into weightlifting or bodybuilding, I found people that looked like I wanted to look, and I went and I started asking them questions.
Exactly.
Racing bikes, I watched people that rode like I wanted to ride, and I rode with them whenever I could.
It takes that section real smooth. You're like, how the fuck do you do that?
Yeah, and it's just there's absolutely no shame in modeling yourself after someone or finding someone who's doing similar or exactly what you want to do and finding a way to make it better, or a way to just get deeper into it for yourself. And being able to say and recognize, like, I'm not the best, I'm not always going to be the best, there's always something I can learn, is important. And it's I think it was the guy that started the Salvation Army, John Booth, I think was his name, but his quote was something to the extent of, a man's strength is not measured in his physical abilities, but in his ability to surrender, and basically just admit where your weaknesses are and use those as footholds to get better, not as detriments or stumbling blocks to totally derail you and bring you down.
Absolutely.
And that really resonated with me when I read it.
That's the first time I'm hearing that, and
I'll have to find it so I can get you the exact quote, because I feel like I'm chopping it up a little bit, but
we take so much pride, I think, as men. We're like, if somebody's better than us, we feel bad about that or something.
We need to somehow one up them.
Right, and you really can't until you incorporate how they're better.
Mm-hmm.
The opposites are what shine light on everything else.
Yeah, it's and I think you will end up learning if it is even something you want to be better at. Like, is it really important to me to chase this?
Right.
Now that I know more about it, is it something that really makes me feel good, or am I doing it because of this person or that person, or underlying reason?
I struggle with that.
So I think a lot of people do. This, by the way, for you, those of you watching, first of all, thank you, and like and subscribe if you have not done so already. This will be a multi-segment conversation, so Phil will be back for more than just today's session. But any questions, comments, concerns, constructive criticism, always feel free to send that in the comments. You can also find at least me on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know if you have.
I've got to fire him back up. I've spent a lot of time just being totally off of social media.
It's kind of nice.
I miss memes really bad. Like I miss sharing just terrible memes. I'm gonna jump back into it. What I would like to do, not so much the Facebook or Instagram, but I would like to start a platform and I want to do this kind of thing. So I was really excited when you asked me to come and talk to you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where you can kind of take it, because like I said, I think you have some really good ideas, and I think that there's definitely a need for it. I mean, you just read the statistics of
it's
suicides, depressions, and things like that, even since just as recent as 5 years and how much they've increased.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a need for it, you know, and it's not just male specific, so we're not leaving you out, ladies.
No.
It's just that the guys, typically we've been, you know.
I can speak on men's.
Yeah, I can speak on experience from a man's standpoint. You know,
Right.
I'm sure there's different and equally, if not more difficult struggles that women face, but.
I don't tune out when it comes to women's things. I'm pretty observant, and I have a lot to say on the subject too. So yeah, ladies, don't hesitate. We want to talk about you too.
And things I feel like I have learned about sensitivity, mental health, and the things that balance me out as a person are largely from female influence, if I'm honest, you know. So
the reconciling of the feminine side of men.
Yeah.
That's where the separation was. We have this great divorce of like men are supposed to be masculine and not feminine.
And totally separate from,
And
you know.
that's bullshit.
Yeah, it has to all coexist.
You can't relate. If you can't relate to your partner, to other just strangers on the street because of the opposite sex or children or, you know, however it is, if you can't relate, then you can't help.
Yeah, you don't know until you know, and you know, it is definitely something that until you've had the experience, you can't really do anything about. And like we talked about, if you're not taking care of yourself, if your battery's not charged, you can't really jumpstart anybody else's. So, on that note for today, make sure you're taking care of yourselves out there. Enjoy each other, don't destroy each other. Stay tuned for not only Phil's progress, but for other episodes here on the Human Performance Project, some to do with canine training, some to do with personal training and physical fitness, and then a lot more to do with psychology and I guess emotional and social growth too, because Lord knows that I have plenty of job security in those areas to grow still, so we keep on keeping on. But again, thank you for being here today. And looking forward to the future. So I have a new pain and torture victim in Phil also. We're gonna do some personal training with him. So we'll post some updates and progress as that comes along too. And you'll be seeing more of Harley here also. So like I said, enjoy, don't destroy. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Peace out till next time.